fool around now that there is so much at stake.
Una forma diferente, de otro modo, nunca igual al de otra gente.
This is where it all began. As the mother of broadcasting in Kenya, you can trust KBC to bring you authentic news and programs to your living room.
Action!
As KBC, we take pride in our unrivaled heritage as Kenya's trusted national broadcaster. Commanding over 92% digital television signal coverage of our country, 23 radio services that cut across our entire language spectrum, a national, regional and international digital presence backed by the most experienced and top-notch broadcast professionals in the industry.
A very good evening to you.
The new look Kenya Broadcasting Corporation is truly ahead of the pack. Turn to the mother of broadcasting in Kenya for stories that resonate with our identity, our aspirations as a people united in purpose. Real stories of hard work, of passion, of creativity, of big dreams. Stories that cement our nationhood. Stories that bring us together as one. We take pride in our shared heritage and destiny. KBC, informing, educating and entertaining Kenyans as one nation. KBC, Kenya's listening, Kenya's watching.
Nissan Serena ndio hii. Na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS. Alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi. Kwa mfano TV 16. Kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Bia na yale majaribu yote, hakika Allah anasema inna wajadnahu sabiran, hakika tulimpata Ayubu akiwa ni miongoni mwa wenye kufanya subra. Ni'mal abdu innahu awwab.
Na subra hii haipaswi kungojewa mpaka baada ya Muislamu kukufuru, bali ni subra ambayo Muislamu anafaa kutekeleza.
On this week's episode of Zurura, we head to Kenya's backyard to visit our very own Wild West. Then it's off to visit one of East Africa's most beautiful tribes who show us a thing or two about looking good. Then buckle up, lean back and get yourself ready to be whisked across one of the best viewpoints Kenya has to offer. That's all coming right up on Zurura, Find Your Adventure, only on KBC.
Good afternoon. Thank you for keeping it KBC Channel 1. This is the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the live broadcast. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. My co-anchor on the language interpretation this afternoon is Lucy Mwaura. Do interact with us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter. Now, a section of residents from the larger Kerio Valley region now want the national government to fast-track the completion of a 300 million shillings Kerio Valley Development Authority irrigation project funded by the state and the Italian government. The locals, led by West Pokot former majority leader Simon Kalekem, point an accusing finger to a section of the Kerio Valley Development Authority staff for the delay. According to the residents, the project was supposed to have been completed 2 years ago after its launch in 2016, adding that no work was taking place on the ground.
If there is no work going on the ground, there should not be any money. They should not be doing allowances. Kwa sababu ya hakuna kazi kule. So kama hakuna kazi yenye iko ground, hakuna hacha washike mshahara. Hiyo ni pesa ya donors na pesa ya wana Kenya taxpayers. So it is if not now leo hii mwaka huu wakati hakuna chakula Samburu County, hakuna West Pokot, hakuna Turkana, hakuna Elgeyo Marakwet. If not now, mnafikira watu, mnafikira hawana haja. In fact, I want to tell the head of state wasimamishe hiyo project completely. Alafu hakuna maana ya kusema wana renew kama hakuna kitu kinaendelea. So we are waiting for the next 3 months tuone ya kwamba kazi imefanyika on the ground ili wasave watu yetu, kwa maana hatuna mahindi kwa hizo counties. Mahindi imeisha completely. Haina mahindi, wananchi hawana chakula. Turkana hata West Pokot sehemu ya hakuna chakula.
Nyandarua County Governor Francis Kimemia has signed a memorandum of understanding with the National Council for Persons with Disabilities to better the livelihood of those living with disability in the region. The move will see PWDs in Nyandarua County registered to access government grants and scholarship opportunities.
Nyandarua County Government through Governor Francis Kimemia, in collaboration with well-wishers from a non-governmental organization called Living with Hope, donated about 200 modern wheelchairs to a section of people living with disability in the area. According to Kimemia, the county has over 25,000 people with disability, with about 3,000 unable to walk. He said his administration is streamlining the health department to ensure those living with disability acquire specialized care.
Mradi vile nimesema utaendelea na utakuwa ni mradi mzuri. Nitoa shukrani kwa wale ambao watapewa leo. Watoto wetu mmeona vile wamefurahi, wataanza kwenda shule. Wale wazazi wetu ambao watapata watu wazima pia wataanza kwenda kwa mashamba zao. Niulize jamii ya Nyandarua County na Kenya mzima, tutoe wale ambao ni walemavu ambao wamefungiwa katika maboma.
Governor Kimemia also appealed to humanitarian agencies, non-governmental organizations and residents to join hands in improving the livelihood of those with disability.
Wewe Kamau Njoroge Kimemia, wewe umefanya nini? Hata kutoa mguu mmoja, hata kama mguu mmoja ya hiyo kiti, hata kama sio kiti mzima, ni kitu gani? Hata chakula, kikombe cha chai kwa mlemavu maskini ambaye. So hiyo ni changamoto ambayo tunaulizwa mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu, na sisi tujiulize tunafanya nini kusaidia wale walemavu wetu ambao ni 25,000, wengine ni maskini zaidi.
For Lunchtime News, I'm Nisi Imano.
Now, a section of journalists and other leaders have converged in Nairobi in remembering the late Hilary Ngweno. Hilary Ngweno is a renowned journalist who passed on early this month, and my colleague Purity Mseu is with the delegation here in the county of Nairobi. Let's listen in at the events.
Who could run away But today they are very proud of the role they played then. And they do want recognition that they started agitating against dictatorship back in the days when nobody could even think of campaigning for multi-party. Another thing which many don't recognize is that Hillary actually provided a platform for them. Nairobi Times, when it was launched, was the first newspaper to take op-ed pieces from outsiders. Nation wouldn't touch some of the stuff which was published in Nairobi Times. Neither would Standard. So it did provide that platform. When I was at the Weekly Review, our place, that newsroom in Ajib House, became a refuge for many of the people who were being followed around by Special Branch. Bishop Muke was a regular visitor. Timothy Njoya was a regular visitor. David Gitari was a regular visitor. Koigi Wamwere himself. And I don't think any other publication would have covered them or given them the kind of space they got at Weekly Review. When nobody could touch Jaramogi, Weekly Review used to interview him frequently. It helped that he was just in the same building, and he actually became my friend. When Raila came out of detention, I think for the only paper which would interview him, a long, lengthy interview, was the Weekly Review. When the multi-party struggle started, the Weekly Review was seen to have taken a conservative approach, and yet it provided a platform which nobody else would, until the emergence of Nairobi Law Monthly, Ugetobu is here, Finance Magazine turned political. It had always been there, but it turned political. Bedan Bogo's Beyond Magazine, Pius Nyamora Society Magazine. Of course, those ones took an activist approach. The Weekly Review was not going to be a single issue newspaper. But I think what we did is simply record faithfully what is happening, analyze from a distance, and provide a platform for all voices. And
those attending the event eulogizing the late Hillary Muchuma as a renowned journalist who led many towards success in leading the newsroom and also dedicating themselves in the work of journalism. And the later was also one of the journalists who will be remembered for their work that they have done, especially in the journalism industry. Now, in other news, members of the public have until September 21st this year to submit claims relating to historical land injustices. National Lands Commission Chairman Gersom Otachi cited Rift Valley, Central and Coastal regions as the most affected. The Commission has so far received a total of 740 claims from various parts of the country. At the same time, NLC has also put on notice land grabbers and individuals and entities that have acquired land illegally. Otachi made the remarks during the unveiling of a blueprint for land reform agenda for the 2021-2022 period.
We at the Commission have come up with a deliberate land reform agenda that we believe will provide the long-awaited solutions to the land problem. Provides that there is a timeline for receiving, as a Commission, receiving historical land injustice. In other words, at the time for filing any claims under historical land injustices. The historical land injustices mandate is in the Constitution and the National Land Act, and in the National Land Act there has been a time frame for receiving the complaints relating to historical land injustices.
3 young men who were killed in 2 separate cattle raid incidents at Marti and Baragoi in Samburu North were buried at Maral Cemetery amid calls for enhanced security. Area leaders and residents are accusing security agencies of laxity in protecting lives and property.
Residents and leaders, among them Samburu County Senator Steve Lelegwe, Samburu North Member of Parliament Alois Lento Maiga, and his Samburu East counterpart Jackson Lekumantare accused the police of laxity.
Kwanza, nataka serikali wajue hakuna amani Samburu. Na ile ripoti ambayo inatoka hapa inaenda Nairobi ya kusema kuna utulivu Samburu. Hakuna utulivu Samburu.
Residents are now calling for thorough investigation into the killing, alleging a government gun was used to commit the crime.
Na jana tulisema hivyo. Police are not doing their work. Hii Samburu County ni kama sio Kenya.
Tiangi pamoja na Matembei wajaribu kutafuta wanaohusika. Hakuna mahali serikali watashindwa kutafuta wakora ambaye wako tu wanajulikana.
At the same time, area leaders decried the spate of attacks recently witnessed at Baragoi and Bukoi in Samburu North.
Aliua hao vijana ni mtu mmoja ambaye anajulikana na ako na bunduki ya serikali.
Loruko in Samburu is describing the trend as alarming.
A team of governors' spouses under the County First Ladies Association, CFLA, has visited Isiolo on benchmarking mission on how to implement the Scaling Up Nutrition program that has proved successful in the county. The team, comprising of Kisumu's Dorothy Nyongo, Kakamega's Priscilla Oparanya, Nyamiro's Emily Nyaribo, and their host Wato Kuti, visited Kakili village and the anti-poaching unit areas in Burat Ward, where Action Against Hunger has organized mothers of childbearing age to form mother-to-mother support groups. The program has played a key role in fighting malnutrition among children. The mothers are also encouraged to have kitchen gardens in their homesteads and make savings through the support groups, which have now developed into village savings and loan associations.
Napenda tutembee na wao tuweze kuwafunza hata wakina mama wengine vile wameweza kufika wakati huu, japokuwa wameadhiriwa kidogo na wamesumbuliwa kwa kibiashara na COVID, lakini wameweza kujisaidia mpaka wakati wa leo.
We have learned so much. In fact, we are taking back to our county what to do to empower women in this regard.
Isiolo ni mojawapo ya arid and semi-arid areas in Kenya, na tuko na changamoto ya drought ambayo sana sana ina lead to malnutrition. So na sana sana sasa hii corona vile imeingia, so imechangia katika kuona malnutrition imeenda juu.
Ministry of Public Service and Gender has unveiled the Women Enterprise Fund strategic plan for 2021-2024 in a bid to empower women economically. Public Service and Gender Cabinet Secretary Professor Margaret Kobia says so far 21.6 billion shillings has been released to benefit 1.8 million women across the country.
Kenya has made some strides, and now it's about time we try to look within the whole category of gender. Let's separate different challenges and try to have an intervention that will touch each of the vulnerable group. As I said, each one of us knows a window, and you know their plight, but you can also remember the difference between an empowered, economically empowered window and a poor window. To start with, poverty wears a woman's face.
Most of the time, depending on the culture, they are disinherited. Their rights are violated. They suffer gender-based violence. Very often, they get into serious trouble with their family members.
Glad you're watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. We're also live on our social media platforms. Quick acknowledgements. Bless you saying you're watching KBC Channel 1 from Kerugoya. Benuel Nyagaka, you're saying you're tuned into KBC Channel 1 from the county of Kisii. And Desi Terry, you're saying you're watching KBC Channel 1 from the county of Kakamega. We do appreciate your feedback. We are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Mimi Daniel Toroitich Arab Moi naapa kwamba nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa Jamhuri ya Kenya na kuitumikia kwa moyo wangu wote, na kwamba nitahifadhi, nitalinda na kuitetea katiba ya Kenya kwa mujibu wa sheria iliyowekwa. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie.
Nissan Serena ndio hii, na unaweza kuwa wewe ndio tunapikia simu. Kodi ya Nissan Serena ni NS, alafu kisha kwenye amount ni 50 bob. Hii Nissan Serena tunakupatia na shilingi 50.
Kujiunga na QuickBid ni rahisi. Enda kwenye M-Pesa, bonyeza paybill, kisha weka business number 4032353. Kwenye account weka kodi ya bidhaa unayotaka na bid yako ya chini zaidi, kwa mfano TV 16, kisha weka shilingi 20 tu kama idadi yako. Weka bid yako pia kwenye www.quickbid.co.ke. Kumbuka, bid ya chini zaidi ya kipekee ndio hununua. QuickBid, bidhaa bora kwa bei ya chini.
Kupata skiza tune ya maisha, bonyeza *811*965#. Maisha ni mafupi, hivyo si vyema kumaliza muda mwingi katika malumbano. Hesabu baraka zako, wathamini rafiki zako na tabasamu ili udumishe amani. Bonyeza *811*965#. *811*965#.
Equity has scaled up operations in the Democratic Republic of Congo through the recently unveiled Equity BCDC. To see how Equity is facilitating investment in service, trade, mining and farming in this vast country, watch KBC on Wednesday 21st at 6:45 p.m.
This is KBC. Thank you for staying with us. You're watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. In other developments, Busia Prison has intensified its life skills training program to inmates in a bid to help them employ themselves once they are released. The correction facility management said the training aims at reducing crime in the society once the inmates are out of the facility. Busia Prison Women in Charge, Justina Mwangombe, said already 15 inmates who completed their sentence were issued with working materials that will enable them to be self-employed and improve their livelihoods. Chief Magistrate Phoebe Kulecho noted that offering training skills to residents was a way of reducing cases of insecurity and indiscipline.
tunapeana hapa kama Busia Women Prison. Kuna wale wataenda kuanzisha biashara za dressmaking and tailoring, 5 tumewapea machines ambazo zimekuwa donated by Safe Organization. Kuna wale wamekuwa supported na S Africa, ambayo S Africa Kenya office ambayo tumewasaidia kwenda kuanzisha salon na beauty shops.
Channel 1 Business News. Diaspora remittance increased for the 6 months to June this year to 190 billion shillings, defying harsh economic times and COVID-19. Latest data by the Central Bank of Kenya shows that remittances from Europe jumped by the highest margins at 41.4%, followed by North America, which increased by 38%. This is the highest jump since 2018, setting the stage for record remittances for 2021.
In the last 6 years, diaspora remittances have become the Kenya's largest source of foreign exchange since 2015, when they overtook earnings from horticulture and tea. This has made Kenya the largest recipient of diaspora remittance in the region and the third biggest in the sub-Saharan Africa, behind Nigeria and South Africa. The United Nations projects diaspora remittance have become the largest source of foreign direct investment in the developing world within this decade. Latest data from the Central Bank of Kenya show that in the first half of 2021, Kenyans living abroad sent a total of 190 billion shillings, defying economic times brought about by COVID-19. This is more than 30 billion shillings more than the 158 billion shillings sent in a corresponding period in 2020. Money from Canada, the United States and Mexico hit 115.7 billion shillings, accounting for 61% of total remittances, up from 53.1% in the first half of 2020. Kenyans living in Europe sent a total of 38.6 billion shillings, equivalent of 20.4% of all inflows, while the rest of the world brought 35.1 billion shillings. The United States continues to be the largest source of remittances into Kenya, accounting for 58.8% of remittances in June 2021, according to the CBK report.
Cape Town is set to build its own power plants as it plans to secure more than 450 megawatts of power from renewable sources. This is in a bid to cut reliance on state power utility Eskom and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Western Cape is undergoing a serious power crisis that has lowered economic output, affecting economic growth in one of South Africa's wealthiest provinces.
South Africa's second biggest city is looking at a range of options and expects the bulk of the electricity to be generated from solar plants. Kadri Nassiev, the city's executive director of energy and climate change, says they will seek proposals for the provision of as much as 150 megawatts from privately owned plants to be built and operated in the city, and as much as 300 megawatts may be purchased at a larger stage from plants outside of Cape Town. The securing of power from sources other than Eskom comes after more than a decade of intermittent electricity. Meanwhile, a week of deadly riots in South Africa could cost the country about $3.4 billion in lost output, while 150,000 jobs have been placed at risk. About 200 malls were targeted and an estimated 3,000 shops were looted during the protests, while 200 banks and post offices were vandalized. No unrest has been reported since Monday and most malls have reopened. In a meeting with more than 90 chief executives and industry leaders on Tuesday, President Cyril Ramaphosa conceded that his administration was inadequately prepared to deal with the scale of the unrest and the security forces didn't respond quickly enough. Most of the 25,000 soldiers that had been instructed to assist the police maintain stability have been deployed. Finally, Radisson Hotel Group, one of the world's leading hotel companies, has made Africa the center of its growth strategy, announcing the accelerated expansion of its portfolio in the continent in 2021. The group aims to reach around 150 hotels in operation and under development by 2025, further reinforcing its presence in key markets such as Egypt, South Africa, and Nigeria. Ramsey Rankosu, Vice President Development Africa and Turkey, says 2021 represents a year of continued acceleration with a focus on the identified key markets.
Netflix will be taking a dive into video games as the movie and TV streaming service projected weak subscriber growth amid growing competition and the lifting of pandemic restrictions that had kept people at home. Details of this and other stories in the international roundup in the world of business.
Netflix is weathering a sharp slowdown in new customers after a boom in the 2020 fueled by stay-at-home orders to curb the COVID-19 pandemic. In the United States and Canada, Netflix reported losing about 430,000 subscribers in the second quarter, only its third quarterly decline in 10 years. The streaming video pioneer said it was in the early stages of expanding its video game offerings, which will be available to subscribers at no extra charge. The company will initially focus primarily on mobile games. Elsewhere, Asian shares and U.S. Treasury yields rose on Wednesday, clawing back some of the week's losses as investors reassessed economic worries, but the dollar was firm on concerns over the impact of fast-spreading coronavirus variant. Rising COVID-19 infections have rocked global markets this week as investors dumped risk assets, seeking stability in safe haven assets like bonds. That sent stocks tumbling and pushed the benchmark US 10-year yield to 5 months low on Tuesday. However, on Wednesday, MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan was up 3.17, trimming its losses for the week to around 2%, while Japan's Nikkei's rose 0.9% after touching 6 months. While Japan's Nikkei's rose 0.9% after touching 6 months lows a day earlier. Finally, EU plans to make Bitcoin transfers more traceable. Proposed changes to EU law would force companies that transfer Bitcoin and other crypto assets to collect details on the recipient and sender. According to the EU Commission, the move would help stop money laundering and the financing of terrorism. The new rules would also prohibit providing anonymous crypto asset wallets. The proposals could take 2 years to become a law. While some crypto asset service providers are already covered by anti-money laundering rules, the new proposals would extend these rules to the entire crypto sector, obliging all service providers to conduct due diligence on their customers. Brian Munyoki, Lunchtime News.
Motor vehicle assemblers in Kenya sold more than 4,300 vehicles in the first 6 months of this year, according to reports from the Kenya Motor Industry Association. The report indicates that this is 80% more than 2,400 vehicles that were sold in the first half of 2020. Isuzu remained the top assembler in the country, increasing its unit output by 922 to assemble 2,323 Isuzu trucks, buses, and sedans. The Japanese car maker was followed by another Japanese giant, Toyota, which produced a total of 856 Toyotas and Hino brands. The report says Simba Corporation was third, assembling 834 units at its associated vehicle assemblers plant in Mombasa. The vehicle dealer assembles Mitsubishi, Mahindra, and Malaysian brand Proton. The bulk of the assembled units are commercial vehicles, pickups, trucks, and buses, though dealers are adding more passenger car models to their assembly lines. Local assemblers now produce nearly 20 models, including buses, trucks, pickups, and passenger cars, such as Peugeot 3008 and 508 sedan. Most vehicles are assembled for the Kenyan market, with few exports to the regional markets. was very long. All right, before we do sports news, let's get back to the local scene. Casual labor, drug and substance abuse has been cited as the reason for poor academic performance in some parts of Embu County. Embu County CEC in charge of public service administration, David Kariuki, says the situation can only be reversed if parents play their role effectively by providing and mentoring their children.
A section of leaders in Embu County organized a mentorship day for secondary school, college and university students at Mutuavare Secondary School in Bere South.
Changamoto zenye ziko mingi, of course hii soko yetu hapa ni changamoto sana. Sababu ya hiyo katibu amesema ya mchanga, but ni lazima tujue kukaa na mchanga.
Embu County CEC in charge of public service administration, David Kariuki, faulted parents for abdicating their responsibilities. Similar sentiments were echoed by Lenny Masters Mwaniki, the leader of Minority Party at the County Assembly of Embu, who also noted security agencies are doing little to enforce law and order within the villages.
Sana kwa sababu ya mambo mengi ile imetokea ni kuongea na wao. Discipline. Hata kama hii changamoto ya simbio ya Kiambere organize talk show kama hii na kuwaleta pamoja wazazi na watoto, hiyo ni njia moja ya kusaidia. Hiyo nyingine ni kwenda kwa mashule yao, kuwaongelesha huko kwa mashule na kuonesha namna mzuri.
During the event, 98 orphans received scholarship checks worth 550,000 shillings, proceeds from sand harvesting by the Kiambere Community Welfare Group. Martin Joki for Lunchtime News.
Across the borders, massive floods in central China caused by record-breaking rainfall have left 12 people dead and more than 100,000 were evacuated from their homes. The floods left more than a dozen cities in Henan province, including its provincial capital, Zhengzhou, affected.
China, home to about 94 million people, has issued its highest level of weather warning, which was described by local authorities as a once-in-a-100 years event. By Tuesday night, Zhengzhou and other places in Henan province saw widespread flooding. People swept away by fast-moving flood waters and cars and debris drifting down submerged streets, leaving the transport system paralyzed. The meteorological department said parts of the region will continue to experience severe storms and that the heavy rain would likely end on Thursday. Meanwhile, Mali's interim president Assimi Goita has shrugged off an attempt on his life during prayers to mark the Muslim festival of Eid. One of the assailants was armed with a knife and tried to stab the president, but was quickly whisked away by his security detail. In a statement, the president assured citizens that the situation was handled and there was no reason for them to worry, as he was well and uninjured. Elsewhere, authorities in northwest Nigeria say they have freed 100 women and children, mainly mothers nursing infants who were seized by bandits. The group was abducted on June 8th this year in Zamfara state. 4 people were also killed during the incident. The Zamfara state government say they were released with a ransom being paid, but gave no further details. The group will now be given medical checks and debriefed before they return to their homes. Since December 2020, more than 1,000 people have been abducted.
Time for sports news. Milwaukee Bucks beat Phoenix Suns 105-98 to win their first NBA title since 1971. The Suns were seeking a first NBA crown in their 53-year history, having also lost NBA Finals series in 1976 and 1993.
Exactly 3 weeks after suffering a knee injury that appeared to put his role in the finals in doubt, Giannis Antetokounmpo carried Milwaukee to their first championship in half a century. With the victory, the Bucks clinched the NBA Finals 4-2 and became only the fifth team to win the best-of-7 championship series after losing the first two games. Paul scored 13 points in the first half, igniting a 31-point second quarter to lift the Suns out of panic mode. Giannis scored 33 in the second half alone, including his 50th point on a game-sealing free throw with 9.8 seconds remaining. Surprisingly, after struggling with his free throw shooting throughout the playoffs, he ended 17 of 19 from the foul line to eliminate the Suns.
And on that sporting action, we come to the close of Channel 1 Lunchtime News. We do appreciate your feedback, especially on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. For more details on Just Add News and many more, do log on to www.kbc.co.ke. My name is Irene Muchuma Odim. My co-anchor on language interpretation has been Lucy Mwaura. On behalf of the entire team, thank you for your time. God bless.
Vera Beauty College.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College, with branches in Nairobi, Eldoret, Thika, and Meru. Did you know that we are a TVET approved institution? We offer courses in fashion design, interior design in soft furnishing, event decoration, flower arrangement, event planning, hairdressing, barbering and dreadlocks, beauty therapy, makeup, nail technology, spa massages, teaching skills, TOT, solo business management, and many more. Register now and visit our website on www.verabeautycollege.com. You can also call on 0725-923-550 Nairobi branch, 0728-087-689 Eldoret branch, 0722-227428 Thika branch, 0725